What is going on today, guys? Too Strong here, and today I just I want to try to start doing something new where all I do is just talk about video games. I know I've tried this before, but I kind of want to see where this goes. Where all I do is just talk about life in the world of video games, what's going on in my life as a gamer, and how the world affects certain aspects of the video game industry and how that affects certain parts of my life. So I'm just going to talk today specifically about the world of collecting, specifically in an environment such as the pandemic, such as to see how things are affecting prices, and specifically the GameCube. The GameCube has been such a strong foundation, a big part of my life growing up as a gamer, and I don't think any other console comes close to introducing me to how Nintendo really has its grip and its grasp on making a game fun. So from what I've noticed recently is a lot of the GameCube game prices have just shot up like crazy in value, and for whatever reason, I feel like it does make sense that these specific games do go up because of its quality and because of the fact that they're just really good games, and they have a lot of effort and put into them, but specifically because of the fact that we're in a pandemic, the environment, it's really tough for collectors such as myself to go out and find these like high quality games for good deals, and you really can't find that anymore. I started collecting games around 10 years ago, 9 or 10 years ago when I started working, because as a lot of people my age, they start working and get a disposable income. They wanna go out and buy cars, live on their own, and on my part and thousands of other people my age, they want to relive their childhood. And so one of the things that, for whatever reason, it's GameCube's turn. And I feel like as time goes on, specifically with Nintendo consoles seem to hold the value of their games, and it's just either the flavor of the month, or for whatever reason remake happens and people, or a new game in a dead franchise comes out, and a new game comes out on that franchise, and people just want to go back and relive those games to see where these games started off on. The flavor of the month this time around, the past couple months, is GameCube. I remember back when the Switch came out, and just before the time leading up to the Switch, people thought, well, it's gonna be close to that time where the Wii U is gonna be the next Dreamcast. Now, as a huge fan of the Dreamcast, I love my Dreamcast. If there's no other testament to the fact that a console tried its best, had low third-party support, and then all of a sudden, it just died. Honestly, the Dreamcast being one of my favorite consoles, specifically for fighting games, it's literally just fighting games, the console. There's no other way to put it. Really high quality games, but there's also like gems in there, like Bangayo, Skies of Arcadia. There's a lot of really cool other games. Cannon Spike. People thought the Wii U was going to be the next Dreamcast, and in that, people went crazy into buying games like Bayonetta 2 for the Wii U. This game, when it came out with the original Bayonetta game, which until then had not been on any of their consoles. The PS3, it was exclusive to PS3 and 360. I don't know if it was out on PC at the time or if it came later, but this was the only other way to play it was on Wii U. And Bayonetta 2 was a Wii U exclusive. And so this game, when people started wanting to collect for the Wii U because it was on its way out, the Switch was gonna be this next big thing. People were looking for this game and hunting it down for like $60 used. And now it's like $20. You can honestly find this game for pretty cheap, especially with the original Bayonetta game in it. It just goes to show what the flavor of the month is going to be. But the GameCube, I feel, for whatever reason, its game prices like shot up. And today I just want to talk about my history with the GameCube and some of the games that I've had and owned over the years, and how I got them, you know, how my history with those games and how they've affected me. So yeah, so the first game I want to talk about today is going to be Baten Kaitos Origins. Now, when I came across this game, it was at a local game store that I saw it, and I'm like, ooh, Baten Kaitos Origins, what is that? You know, I did my research. I found that this is actually like a sequel or a prequel, but the second game in the series. I do believe there is a second Baten Kaitos, but that only came out in Japan. But we got Eternal Wings and some Endless Ocean, Eternal Wings and the Endless Ocean, Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings, blah blah blah. And then we got Baten Kaitos Origins. But for whatever reason, I picked up this game because I liked the aesthetic of it. As a huge fan of pre-rendered backgrounds, pre-rendered graphic backgrounds used in games like Final Fantasy VII, Chrono Cross. This game really harkens back to a time when, you know, that was big. Pretty much like early PS1 RPG era, when a lot of pre-rendered graphics were a thing. And also the fact that this game is a 2-disc game, which I didn't really seen since, you know, Tales of Symphonia, which is also a 2-disc game. So if you're looking for this game loose, look for both discs. It's got 2 discs. But that being the case, I got this game for I think about $50 at the time, and its price just went up like double. I think it's about $100, $105. It's $105 complete if you can find it. Now the price guide that I'm looking at is called price charting. It's pricecharting.com, and what it does is it takes a median of the sold listings on eBay, and it averages the prices out. So it's not it's a good general view to kind of price out your games, because it will average out the total listed prices. eBay itself is not a really good indicator to show like what prices are going for, what games are going for, because those are asking prices. Those are the prices that people are asking. That's what they're hoping to get. And you know, if you do your research and you know a general idea of what games should be, I use price charting all the time because it averages out the game. If I can get the game for about average or lower, then that's a good deal. Because, you know, those are completed prices. Those are what the game is going for, not what people are asking. So price charting is pretty cool. But yeah, it's a turn-based RPG that uses cards to battle. And you can level up and change these and level up the cards and evolve the cards. And what it reminds me of is Lost Kingdoms 2. Yeah, Baten Kaitos Origins. This is a really good game. Honestly, it takes me back to like a simpler time of the PS1 early RPG era where they used pre-rendered graphics, and it's just gorgeous to look at. Cool game. Now the next 2 games I want to talk about at the same time, it's going to be Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. So for whatever reason, these 2 Zelda games have gone up in price. Not drastically, but enough to be noticed. Because historically, as someone who loves Zelda games, someone who tries to collect Zelda games, historically, the most expensive, the most you would ever pay for a Zelda game would be around the $40-$50 area. Link to the Past, probably a $30 game on Super Nintendo. But yeah, the whole point of this video is because I just checked prices recently, and Gamecube, for whatever reason, went up in price. Wind Waker, I think, is around a $50 game. Wind Waker is around $50. And then Twilight Princess is around $80. That is historic because these games usually hover around the $50 range and the $40 range, especially because there are HD remakes, which I think are the superior ways to play the game, especially Wind Waker. Wind Waker HD, with its quality of life improvements in the game, I think it just stands out with its the fast sail just allows you to traverse the Great Sea at a faster pace. But it's insane that these games just shot up like that. I got Wind Waker for free because my neighbor's mom was tossing out his games for whatever reason. I don't know. He came over one day, brought a whole bunch of games, whole bunch of GameCube controllers, GameCube stuff specifically, and said, hold on to these for me because my mom's getting rid of my games, and I'll have them here for whenever I come over to play. And then I got Twilight Princess I think the Wii version when it came out was just like mind-blowing, because Twilight Princess came out, the GameCube version came out the exact same time as the Wii version, but nobody got the GameCube version because the Wii version was just better. Nobody cared about the GameCube version. Why are you gonna play a game on an older console when you could have it, you know, on the newer one? Because of that, not a lot of people skipped this one in favor of the Wii version, because actually the Wii version is mirrored compared to the GameCube version, and it uses motion controls. Link's sword is now on his right hand, where on the GameCube version is on his left hand. Yeah, it's insane to see that these games have gone up in price the way they have. Wind Waker, historically, you know, throughout my entirety of 10 years of collecting, 9 years of collecting, Wind Waker's always $30. Twilight Princess on GameCube was usually around 40. Now it's 80, and this one's 50. It's crazy to see how these games are just going up. All right, so I'll do another twofer. So Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. So for whatever reason, these games have gone up. Possibly because, you know, people are talking about Metroid Prime 4. Everybody wants to go back and play those games. But it is, again, I think the fact that we're in a quarantine right now, we're in a pandemic, and people have to stay home. The first games, when it comes to GameCube, that come to mind are the Prime games. Metroid Prime is usually like a $20 game. And Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, $15, I'll say. $15, and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes was around $22. Metroid Prime now is $30, so it almost doubled. And then I think Metroid Prime 2 is going for $45! $45! Like, it's insane, because it's the last of the Metroid Prime games on the GameCube. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption didn't come out until the Wii. And even then, the Metroid Prime trilogy is probably a better way to play the Metroid Prime games, in my opinion, because of the unenhanced camera controls. But yeah, my history with the Metroid Prime games takes me back to when the GameCube, you know, was in its infancy, and I was so obsessed with playing GameCube. And my first introduction to the Metroid games was actually Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance. And then when I went over to my cousin's house to spend the weekend, they had Metroid Prime, and my uncle was a huge fan of the Metroid Prime games. I started playing this game. You know, I was on the first planet that you drop down to after after Orpheus, the space frigate that you first go down to, and you escape because it explodes. That first planet, I go down into it, and I'm thinking, man, this game's awesome. I love the controls, the atmosphere, the music. It really sparked my love and interest for world building in video games. I just love it when a game does such a good job at world building and expanding on its universe. That's probably a big reason why I love the Dark Souls games, because they don't explain the story. You pretty much have to like use environmental cues. You have to use item descriptions to piece the story together. And in the same way, the Metroid Prime games do that very well, in that you have to read data logs. You have to read, creature encyclopedias to learn inhabitants and environmental cues of ancient civilizations that used to live in certain areas. I love that, and I love the fact that these games are so atmospheric in that. Now, the next game I'm going to talk about probably is the main reason I wanted to do this video, is because it just came out. Like the newest game in the series just came out, and that's of course Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door. What can I say about this game that hasn't already been said? It's a fantastic RPG. It was so funny and the writing still holds up today. The graphics, the gameplay, the mechanics, just the fact that it's such a quirky game, and it was done by Intelligent Systems, one of my favorite developers, because they did one of my favorite series, Fire Emblem. This game historically is hovered around the $45-50 range. $120. $120. What the heck is going on? I mean, it's a fantastic game and it's really good, but like I said, because I think it's GameCube's turn in our life cycle of video game collecting. It's GameCube's turn to to be in the spotlight of game collecting. That's one of the biggest reasons why this game has gone up, because it's a Mario game, it's an RPG game, it's done by Intelligent Systems, it's got great writing, it's got awesome graphics, the characters are so memorable. What can be said about this game that hasn't been praised with yet? And yeah, it's one of those games that I loved playing so much because it's just so nostalgic for me. And honestly, in my opinion, I think it's one of the last good Paper Mario game in this style, being an RPG. I really liked Super Paper Mario. It was a different in departure. I think it was a really good game. Its writing was awesome, but it wasn't an RPG in like a turn-based RPG like the first two games in the series. And then Sticker Star came out, and I hated that game. I didn't like it at all. And after that, I didn't play any of the other Paper Mario games. I haven't even played the new one. Because they're not really, they're more like action adventure games than they are RPGs. This is like the main reason I want to do this video, is because I was blown away by how much this game had gone up in price. It just shot up out of nowhere, and then it made me do more research into what is going on with the fact that all these GameCube games that were historically and, you know, trending at a certain price for the longest of times, that during my little tiny 10 years of experience that I have just like gone up. So the next game that I want to talk about really hasn't gone up in price. In fact, I think it may have even kind of stabilized after, you know, all the hype. It's, you know, Smash Brothers Melee. For whatever reason, this game is very sought after. A lot of people want Super Smash Brothers Melee, but it's stayed at a range that's pretty affordable for a GameCube game, considering the fact that a lot of other, you know, staple GameCube games have gone up, and it stayed at the $50 range. You can find this game complete in box for $50, and my local game store is charging $75 for complete in box games, which I think they're trying to artificially inflate the prices when you can find this game for pretty cheap, for relatively cheap. I remember when I did my my Super Mario Sunshine 2 Strong Style review, I looked up the price on the Amazon in a little bit I did in the video, and it came out to like $230. That was an exorbitant price that no person in the right mind should pay for a GameCube game. I think the Smash Brothers, just, you know, specifically Melee, has a special place in my heart, because this was the game that brought out my competitiveness. I've always been an easygoing person. I've never been one to really take gaming seriously to the point where I get competitive, or where I get frustrated when I lose on a game. But this was the game that made me want to master a game, that made me want to put myself above the game and not let the game beat me. And on top of that, I could use the skills that I learned here against real people. Whenever I go to my cousin's house, friends, cousins, neighbors, it didn't matter who was interested in playing Melee, I wanted to play them to see if I was any good. And this was the game that actually put that competitive spark into me for games. Melee just has a special place in my heart, spending the hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of hours playing with friends and neighbors, just practicing by myself. I owe a lot of my competitiveness to this game, and it's cool to see that this game has stayed at that range, because, you know, Smash Brothers Ultimate came out. A lot of people are abandoning, especially the FGC, aren't really looking at Melee as often as they used to be anymore. There's still a lot of high-end players, a lot of top players who love this game. That it's still frequently being played, but not at the level that it used to be, not at the point where people were looking for this game constantly. Now you can go to any game store, any brick and mortar store in your area, and you can probably find this game complete in box. Don't pay $75 for it. Don't pay $75 for it. $45, $50 is a good price for this game, but, you know, it's brick and mortar places. They gotta make their money for paying their rent, and it's understandable, so you can't really fault them for that. But when it comes to other games that are artificially inflated in price, it's like the other day I saw the Wind Waker Metroid Prime combo at my local game store. They were selling it for $720, and that game is probably $200 max. But yeah, Smash Brothers Melee. It's one of those games that's a staple in every GameCube collection. But I'm really happy to see that it's stayed. It hasn't fluctuated. Its price hasn't really fluctuated. It's actually stayed at a good level of acquirability, meaning that you can find it pretty commonly, and it's got a decent price tag on it. It's pretty affordable. Now the last game I want to talk about is from, well, I said it recently, one of my favorite franchises of all time, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. Now the memories I have with this game, oh, let me tell you. I love this game so freaking much. It's actually the series that started me off in my love for turn-based tactical RPGs. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2, the Shining Force series, and then obviously Fire Emblem, and then shoot, what's that game? My mind's blanking out. Advance Wars. Jeez, I love Advance Wars. Those games are just so good, and because they're tactical RPGs done by Intelligent Systems, which their quality to gameplay and storytelling is just so fantastic. Now, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance historically has been a very rare, very sought after, very relatively pricey at the time game. It used to average around $100 to $120, but now, surprise, surprise, this game is now going for $250. Like, $250 for a complete in-box game. That's freaking insane. For a GameCube game, this game has always been around. If you take a look at the trend of this year, March of 2020, when this whole thing started, this game was averaging. Let me see. Can I do complete in box here? Complete in box averaging around $160. $160 for a pretty good, a fantastic game, very rare, pretty sought after game. $160 is not bad because it's one of those crown jewels of a collection. And now all of a sudden, because it literally just shot up. If you look at the trend, $250. $250. And now my story with this game, with this franchise in general, was I had nothing to do on a spring break. I think I was in junior high, and I have a local GameStop. Thank God I don't shop there anymore. I don't even give them my business. I'm just happy to see them going out of their way, going out. I'm sad to see people losing their jobs because of the mismanagement. That's a whole other story that I don't even want to get into right now. Whatever. Walked to GameStop one day, 95-100 degree heat. I was looking for something to do on a spring break, and I found Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance. And I was like, "Ooh, there's a sword on this game, on the box art. There's an axe on the box art. This game looks pretty cool. It's high fantasy." And then I remember thinking back, "Oh, I saw this game on a Nintendo Power at my junior high school library because my junior high school would get subscriptions to Nintendo Power." And I would read through those like constantly. You would find me there just looking through Nintendo Power for ages and ages. And I got this game and I took it home and I fell in love with tactical turn-based RPGs. I love the story, the characters, the animations were so sweet for Game Boy Advance. And then fast forward to my freshman year in high school, and I was starting to rekindle my love for my childhood. Get back into what I used to play, to just harken back to a time that it was a simpler days, which is why I have a love for NES games, because even though I wasn't alive during the time those games were out, I still have a fond memory of going over to my aunt's house. She had the original Nintendo, Skate or Die, Super Mario Brothers 3, and I would play those games for hours when I was over. Even though those games at that time were dated, I only had the Game Boy Color in comparison for graphical stuff, for gameplay wise. And, playing those games just really brings me back to a simpler time when the only thing that mattered, the only thing that important was cartoons, video games, and hanging out with your friends and trading Pokemon. Which is why I have a, deep passion for simple games like Rainbow Islands on on the NES. You know, I love this game so much, and it's one of those games I was looking for such a long time. And when I finally found it for a really good deal, you know, I blew my mind because it's such a great game to play. It's got great controls. It's the sequel to Bubble Bobble, and you know, not a lot of people really talk about this game, but I love this game nonetheless because it reminds me of a time when all I cared about was games. So it was during my freshman year of high school. It was on a summer break. I bike to my local GameStop, trading in a couple games, and I find Fire Emblem Path of Radiance for $20 in the bargain bin. And you know, I'm talking to the guy about, you know, Wii games, you know, the next consoles that are gonna come out. You know, the cashier. It's you know, I'm spending my time there because it's freaking scorching outside, and the GameStop's air conditioned, and I'm browsing and I find Fire Emblem Path of Radiance for $20 at a bargain bin. I take it home, and oh my gosh, it rekindled my love for tactical turn-based RPGs. This game's got such a good story. Ike is such a badass in this game. And then Radiant Dawn came out, and I was like, yes, more Fire Emblem. This is actually the first time the United States got a console Fire Emblem game. And because of its gameplay, its story, the way that they presented this game, it's just got that feeling that this is a premium game. And I beat it that week. I returned it, you know, within the 7 days to get my money back and get a new game, and I was so dumb to do that because I eventually found out this game was worth so much money, which at the time was like $100. So I paid my $90 for this game just to get it back again, and to find out recently that this game shot up to $250. Like, what is going on? So yeah, it's crazy to see how things are currently in the climate that we live in. What advice can I give? Definitely stay within your means. Right now might not be the best time to start collecting GameCube. There are other consoles that, you know, are a pretty good jumping point to start off. I would say Wii U. You know, the console itself might be pretty pricey. It might be just as much as buying a Nintendo Switch, but the games for the Wii U are actually fairly cheap. If you're trying to start a collection for Dreamcast, forget it. The system itself is probably around $70, $60. You can find a controller, the system, and the cables, but the games are exorbitantly pricey. Actually, recently just started collecting Dreamcast again for the fighting games because I love fighting games so much, and finding out that, you know, the Dreamcast had the better versions of the fighting games that came out on PS1 and PS2. These are the better versions, arcade perfect ports. The fighting games that come out in arcades to Dreamcast were just the better versions of the PlayStation fighting games that were coming out, the PlayStation 2 fighting games that were coming out. So that might not be, you know, it might be tantalizing and alluring to collect for a console that's only worth like $50, $60, and the games are expensive. You're gonna buy, you can't even afford like a collection. But that's where I jump into my second point, which is if you make your list of games that you want for your collection and you come across all 5 of them at once, if they're cheap games, get them all. But if they're exorbitantly priced games and you have the money for one, buy one. Don't break the bank because you want a collection really fast. And that's the mistake that a lot of new collectors do, is that they go out, they have their $1,000 they want to spend, and they blow it all on a game just because they can say, I have it. You know, they didn't have no ties to this game. They have no childhood connection to it, which is fine. Wanting to discover a console that you skipped, wanting to rediscover games that you had no idea existed, that's okay. I would say that the allure of collecting is so enticing that you want to get it all at once. It just blows the entire momentum of that entire passion of collecting games, which is honestly one thing that has kept me and my love for collecting games. Is I'll find a game that I really want. I'll find 3 or 4 games that I really want at one location, and I'll get 1 or 2 of them because I know that's the allure, the chase, the hunt, the thrill of looking for that game that you've been looking for such a long time. You come across it, you buy it, you trade for it, and then you're constantly thinking about that game that you want because it's that driving force in collecting games. That I don't know if I'm really making any sense, but you find the game that you want, you bring it home, you play it, and you're thinking about another game that you're looking for, which is the driving force of being a collector. The best way to be collecting is to stay within your monetary means. Don't go crazy all at once. You know, leave some steam in for other games that you're passionately looking for. Buy a couple games, play them, have some fun nights with your friends on the weekends. Go through Smash Brothers every now and then. Play some Mario Kart Double Dash. That game is also shot up in price. So these games, you know, play them and enjoy them. As a collector and a gamer, you know, you're a gamer first. But you know, I don't want to tell anybody how to live their life, but that's another additional thing that adds to, you know, the raise of prices going up in specific consoles. And you know, today it just happens to be the GameCube. But yeah, that's kind of like my journey into collecting for the GameCube games. I haven't bought anything in a long time because of the prices. They're just so ridiculously high right now. But I do have fond memories of the console and fond memories of playing the games. And you know, one thing that keeps my drive going for in game collecting is I find the game that I want, and I do the research that I want to, how much it's going for, and I find it. And when you find that game for a good deal and you bring it home, and you know that you're gonna enjoy it, and you got it for a good price, that's what collecting is all about. It's a hobby that getting into it is pretty difficult, because there are people that get into this hobby thinking they're gonna make $1 billion off of people who are just trying to, you know, re-enjoy their childhood. But yeah, that's my story with some of the GameCube games that I have currently. And let me know what you guys think about the GameCube games going up in price recently. And let me know what your favorite console to collect is. Personally, right now, it's Dreamcast. You know, doing trades really helps me a lot because it doesn't break the bank. And yeah, but yeah, honestly, probably my favorite game right now to play is Power Stone. I played that game with my girlfriend recently, and we just played that game for a while and just trying out the different characters. It's such a fun game, you know, unlocking the new I think there's 2 unlockable characters. Unlocking the 2 characters, it's just a fun experience for me and my girlfriend, which we get enjoyment and fun out of. Not having to go out and look for games constantly, which, you know, is the whole, you know, fun of collecting, is you actually enjoy the games that you have. But yeah, so that's just my experience with collecting for GameCube. You know, the realization that these prices are going up, it's pretty interesting to see. But let me know what you guys think about this whole thing, and until next time, I'll see you later.